Hello, space fans. This is KSP to Mars. I'm Lorenzo, and today we have a historic episode number 70. Not quite sure why it's historic, but it's a milestone of the decimal system, that much can be said, at least. We're launching the Martian 2 towards Mars, hence the name of the show and the name of the ship. And if you're wondering what this ship is built of, check out the last video, the teaser that in fact showcased the ship. For now, no further ado, we're expecting a longish episode because there's a lot involved in landing on Mars, so let's go ahead and launch. That comes first. We have 4 cores of boosting. 2 of them will separate out in asparagus fashion, and the center one will then continue on, hopefully, to, well, I would say greener pastures, but we're leaving the green and we're heading for the red. And it has been about a week, and I'll more about that in just a few minutes or seconds or moments. If I recall correctly, this ship was a little bit overpowered for the first stages of the launch, so I'm going to throttle back to about half throttle. I think we can do it a little bit more. We have separatrons on the boosters, so we should be able to ditch them. I'm trying to steer a little bit. Best is to have a full passive roll maneuver where you basically just give... Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, that went spectacularly wrong in a hurry. Right. Let's see if we can save someone. Save Ludrin. Save Ludrin. Let's see. Here's a piece of rocket. The game still thinks the center of mass is somewhere here, but... Well, let's see about separating that. Separating all of it, actually. Oh, look at that! The capsule is here. We're focusing on the wrong bit. Oh, that was fortunate. That stayed together. Well, the parachute has deployed. What do we have here? We have a nuclear reactor. Well, that's not overheating just yet. And while the Ludrin is parachuting to Earth, so we'll rebrand this launch as, in fact, a parachute system test, because we will now quickly find out whether this parachute is going to work, and the KSC is now rather a little bit more radioactive. But we'll not worry about that too much. We will do more launches immediately, because... Oh yeah, that's the generator overheating. Hello, Ludrin, hope it's not getting too toasty in there. This parachute is doing a bang-up job. I think it's the big one. It is... No, it's the small... No, it is the big one, I think. Anyway. Oh, it's fully deployed already because it was configured for Mars. Right, that's why it's doing so well. Let's see, this is at 3,000. Can this be higher as well? Should be 5. Right. Well, I'm assuming that Ludrin will make this. And let's try that again, shall we? We're at 2 days from the launch window. And, well, here's hoping that we can actually launch this ship. If not, we might have to add a few struts, but fortunately this is a show where we don't really mind about Kerbal casualties. So we're just reincarnated Ludrin and we're sending a zombie to Mars. Yeah, let's try and make that work. So let's pay a little bit more attention to our pitch over maneuver and try and lock that in here. And I want to keep an eye on the Mach number. I want to cross Mach 1 without steering too much, because that causes the top half to sway, and when the rocket sways, it gets exposed to very uneven aerodynamic forces, and that's not great. So when it's doing what it's doing now, we are in lots and lots of danger. We really don't want that. See, then this thing catches the wind, and everything goes horribly wrong, like that. Right, I'm going to have a look at the vehicle assembly building, because we need some more struts in here. Okay, there we are, back on the launch pad, and I just was in the VAB and I added a bunch more struts. That's an advantage of not doing things live, that I can just fiddle around with that quietly. Also, I'm going to disable the SAS wheel here. I want to steer it from the bottom and not from the middle. I'll save this for the space stage of the flight. So let's go ahead and boost this up once more. Possibly I could also do with some extra struts between these boosters and the central column, because that is looking darn wobbly as well. On the whole though, I feel that the struts have improved things, but we'll see that when we're getting near that Mach 1 region of Max Q. Max Q, if you didn't know, is it's basically defined as the bit of an ascent where the air pressure is the highest. So that's not the air density or the speed, but the point where the combination of air density and speed yields the highest pressure, because as you're going up, you are constantly accelerating, which increases the pressure, but you're also constantly getting higher, which, due to the thinner atmosphere, decreases the pressure. And generally, in the first stages of a launch, pressure tends to rise fairly rapidly, and then it falls off almost equally as rapid. Here, it went horribly wrong. Unfortunately. So, let's try that again. And this historic episode number 70, which we've been waiting for about a week, I think. Yeah, about a week. Because I didn't have a house and no job, and, well, things aren't much better as of now, because the job I thought I'd be happy with turned out to be a little bit more like a cult than like an actual job, so I ended up leaving that in 3 days. Unfortunately, the YouTubes and the Twitches don't net me enough cash to live off, so I'm back hunting for some gainful employment or other, well, profitable ventures. Coupled with that and some rather disappointing news from the realtor about the house I was going to rent have, well, basically resulted in me having the same situation as I had in the last video. Something I'm not at all happy with, but, well, it's probably for the best, because now I get to spend more time with you guys. No, I meant to say more time hunting for something that will make me happy. For now, I have money to live off. That is nice, and I can house sit through, well, through about 6 weeks from now, so I do have a roof and some privacy for the foreseeable future, which is nice. In KSP related news, things are looking up. We have passed the Mach 1 boundary, which is, well, after going supersonic, the drag falls off a bit, it becomes a little bit easier. We haven't really pitched over anywhere, but we're due to ditch some of our boosters. Now we're at 23 kilometers. That's still high enough to cause lots of trouble, well, experience lots of trouble due to the air, but it's no instant rocket disintegration anymore. Although this is not looking good. Let's be honest. This doesn't look good. But there's always a but, and they're not always pretty. If we can get out of the atmosphere, we have dozens of kilometers per second of delta V in the fusion engine, so we don't need to scrape by now. We do need to be able to control this rocket. I think I'm going to add more struts, going from these tops to, well, ideally I would want them to reach the payload there, but, well, that's not happening. So this Let's Go to Mars episode is rapidly turning into a how do I not make my rocket not crash episode. Could also try adding some wings on the bottom. I think I'm gonna try that and strut the boosters, because, well, this is just plain not working out. I could try and separate these, full as they are. Maybe I can regain control with just this one. I do want to enable the torque for that, but it seems that I'm in a spin, and I shall not be getting out of it so easily. We are also falling again. That is not really good. Control does seem to sort of happen. No, we are going to add wings and try again. I don't know why suddenly the rocket that I'm fairly confident I tested suddenly doesn't work anymore. Or maybe gremlins happened, or maybe I'm just being insane today. It is a distinct possibility. But time to add some wings, and I'll see you on the launch pad. Once again, here we go on the launch pad, now with more wings and more struts. If that's not a recipe for success, I don't know what is. So, in the news I was talking about, well, basically just a personal situation, let's call that news. Things haven't been fixed, but I'm still confident, and we have lots of time, and it's summer, and I have a house for a few weeks, so, well, hey, things are looking up, and I can probably do some late night streams, which should be fun. Twitch.tv has been adding nice new features to their lineup, among which that you can now notify your YouTube viewers when they're going live. So if you happen to be watching this video, and if I happen to be live streaming at the same time, you will see a pop-up in the bottom saying, hey guys, I'm live streaming, go check that out. And if you do see that, of course, go right ahead and check that out, because I like live streaming and it should be fun in the future. For now, the wings seem to be doing their job. We're going over Mach 1. and continuing our thunderous ascent into the heavens above, or the blackness of space. Take your pick, really. Right, let's continue on this heading for booster separation. Almost. 1, 2, 3, there we go. Separatrons pushing the behemoths out of the way. Rocket still appears to be going solidly. Wings really do help, who'd have known. Wonderful. So let's try and fall over a little bit more. Oh, no, this is a controlled pitch. Nothing so crude as falling over. Oh no. Oh no. We are approaching the 45-degree heading. We are at 35 kilometers over some very weird cloud cover, but we have learned to live with that. And something else we've learned to live with is a career mode that's devoid of money or prestige points. And why do I bring this up? Because it is my personal prediction that the KSP .24 release is nigh. If you've been following the forums, well, there's some talk about it, and there was I think just 2 days ago, there was a post by the developers showcasing some of the new logos for the in-game corporations, which apparently was a contest for the community members. I missed that, but things like that, I don't think they often get showcased without an imminent release. Also, the content creator partnership program was announced, where if you are making YouTube videos or doing live streams, you can become an affiliate, and if one of your viewers happens to buy the game through your link, you get a small cut. Basically, it's a straightforward affiliate program. I'm not in it as of yet, but I probably will join it, and if they'll have me, you will well, be able to purchase this wonderful game through me, which will give me, well, probably $1 or $2. So, hey, if you're on the fence, that might be a convincing argument. Either way, I'm looking forward to the .24 release whenever it may happen, because it will bring upgrades to the career mode, say money and prestige points. So basically we'll have 3 currencies: science points, credits, just plain old dough, and prestige, which I'm not quite sure how they will tie into things, but well, more variety, more complexity is always good in a game like this. Of course, as soon as it hits, do expect me to make videos of it, and I shall do my best to showcase the new versions. Oh dear, this booster is wobbling the whole ship around, who'd have known. I'll showcase the .24 and probably start a whole new series, because one way or another, this KSP to Mars series or the contracting, yeah, they're not done yet, but they're close to having a run its course. I got a whole boatload of submissions for the contracting show to enjoy doing that, having a little bit of interaction with you guys. But this Let's Go to Mars at All Costs, well, that's a little bit better cloud cover there. Let's Go to Mars at All Costs, it's fun, it's nice, but I'm itching for a new format to do videos in. Maybe live stream, maybe more interactivity, maybe something with the new system or any of the mods that are sure to emerge from that. If you have any ideas, sure, share them with me in the comments, by all means. And with those wings and with those struts, I'm fairly amazed at how well this launcher is now working. This stage is almost burning out, and then we'll have to... Wow, this reactor is just active. Everything seems to be working out fine. Then we can fire up our nuclear drive, finish the orbit, and basically go to space. One thing I may not have taken into account is that I am basically performing what is colloquially known as an efficient launch, where our apoapsis isn't unnecessarily high. Now, we may actually want a high apoapsis if this nuclear fusion thermal rocket proves to have a low thrust to weight ratio. Well, I know it will have a low thrust to weight ratio. Look, there we go, it's completely sluggish. But we may have had to push our apoapsis just a teensy weensy bit higher. Yes, that is a distinct possibility. Let's see, what do we have here? This is not currently being used. I am suddenly incredibly worried about making orbit because, oh my god, does the thrust to weight ratio on this not exist. Oh my god, it's 200 kilonewtons, which is a huge amount for a nuclear thermal rocket, but this thing is probably just too heavy. Let's see our orbital speed. We need about 2.5 kilometers per second out of this. And we are accelerating pretty much not at all. Pretty much not at all. That is most certainly a problem. Let's have a look. Did we bring a Kerbal Engineer? I don't think we did. I don't think we did. We are nearing our apoapsis though, that is for sure. Come on. I could fire some of these engines, but then obviously that would kind of screw with the landing thrusters on the thing. Ah, shit. Also, they would consume so much fuel. I could do that on the next launch, if there is a next launch, to pack some oxidizer as well, to refuel these thrusters from. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. It might still work out. What's our apoapsis like now? 286. If we aim a little bit higher... I mean, we are out of the atmosphere. If we can manage... If we can manage this, that would be amazing. But I don't think it's gonna happen. Well, shit. I might rename the video a blooper reel and upload it like that. Or a full, yeah, historic episode, my ass. We are not going anywhere. Damn it, I just needed a slightly larger launcher. Slightly larger launcher. Why can't we have done that? Can I just jettison half the fuel? So that will that'll improve things. I could shrink this down to half the size and it would probably work wonderful. Is this at full power? Almost. Almost. We're at apoapsis pretty much now. And we did add about 0.5 kilometer per second. I mean, let's be fair, we did do that. What's our acceleration like here? 4.1 was the peak. That was surely not on this engine. I mean, it's not even close to 1G, so there's no way we can stand on the rocket and have this take forever. So let's try a quick save and let's accelerate time a bit. So I can tell you now, this is not going to work out. No way. No way. I will jump forward until the moment where it either has or hasn't. See you in a few minutes. And there we are a few minutes later. Quickly entering the atmosphere now. And you might think that this is looking good. Almost at orbital speed, but most of that speed is in fact in the direction of straight down. So that's actually not good at all. I have decided what I'm going to do about it though. For the next run, we will add some oxidizer and have this engine run in liquid fuel and oxidizer mode, which will reduce the specific impulse but increase the thrust. And that's exactly what we need. I'll fill it up with half oxidizer, yes. Here we are, we're losing our radiators due to atmospheric friction, and our trajectory is very much a plummeting to death trajectory. So, we shall attempt this again. Revert to the vehicle assembly building 14 minutes ago. That tells me that this episode is already almost running 20 minutes long. It might have to be a two-parter after all. And I hope you don't mind the troubleshooty nature of things, because, well, it wasn't the plan, but it sorta happened. So right, let's add some oxidizer. That will slash our delta V, but it should still be plenty. Yes, it is. Let's go with 1,000 units of oxidizer. Right. Martian 2, launch. I will not show you the whole launch again, because most of it should look frighteningly similar, but I will cut to the part where we are extra atmospheric and launching our nuclear drive, because that's where things will probably diverge in this alternate timeline. See you then and there. And as promised, here I'm back. I've done two things. I've done a steeper launch, so our apoapsis is now at 440 kilometers, giving us a lot more time to do our thing. and I've brought 1,000 units of oxidizer. We shall see how well they perform now. There we go, look at that, we're shooting off almost a full G of acceleration. Well, our fuel is of course being consumed a little bit more rapidly, and our specific impulse is 2,000 seconds less. Actually, that's a pretty good trade-off. 2/3 the efficiency for 7 times the thrust. Or 3 times. Anyway, it's what we want. So let's fold away, well, extend these radiators. And now I'm completely convinced that we will in fact make orbit. So let's also extend these panels so that we may have some electricity. They are for cosmetic, no, not cosmetic, let's say they are for backup systems, because we of course are also backing a fission generator with its very own fission reactor, which is with its very own generator. So we don't really need the solar panels, but they look neat, don't you think? Look at that. Let's orient our ship so that it's a little bit more nicely aligned with actually attaining orbit. That is a alignment towards the horizon. Look at that, it looks like a spaceship. It looks all spaceshipy with panels and radiators and struts. These look very well designed, don't you think? Anyway, let's re-enable this reaction wheel. We might need it in the future. And I may have overdone it with the oxidizer, but no matter, because we also have this tank of liquid fuel remaining. We're good on the fuel. As soon as we're in orbit, we have all the delta V we could ever need. So that is a good thing. This will take a while again, as always, so let me skip forward to where things are settled. Look at that, not quite settled yet. Look, we don't have a stable orbit, but we do have an apoapsis of 1,000 kilometers, an orbital velocity of 7.3 kilometers per second, and a beautiful rocket which still has some oxidizer remaining even. So let's cut the engine here, fast forward towards that glorious apoapsis, and finish things off from there. Ooh, don't overshoot, always be careful. Look at that, is the reaction wheel even on? Well, that certainly needs a little bit more pull. Well, I'm not sure if those are supposed to be city lights or gleaming landscape, but they sure look sort of nifty. Alright, let's have a look here. I think we can safely switch to the liquid fuel only mode. That will save us 450 units of oxidizer. Either to, no, we won't be able to refuel this because this will crash before this lands, but we can utilize our increased thrust for a braking burn. No, toggle the propellant, please. We can use the increased thrust to hello, activate the engine. We can use the increased thrust to ease our braking burn around Mars, because as you might remember or be able to observe, we are not packing any heat shields, and our deceleration and capture burn will be 100% propulsively. And if we can of course start that with a little bit more kick than the 193 kilonewtons the pure liquid fuel thrust mode provides, well, all the better. So this will be, oh, it's almost finished. We are starting to actually have a periapsis above ground level. Isn't that wonderful? I think that's wonderful. So let's just patiently wait until that is about 300 kilometers. Sure, I dread to see the direction in which we're burning now. That's actually pretty good. So I will take a short break and set up a maneuver node to encounter Mars, and I'll show you that when I have it. And I have the maneuver node. It's 3.4 kilometers per second with a 1 kilometer per second course correction. I could do without this, but then I'd be at a 2-degree offset and only be somewhat almost encountering the planet Mars, due to the chance that we are currently set to encounter it at the descending node, which doesn't leave for a lot of flexibility. So I'm a little bit loath to use that, and seeing that we have all the delta V in the world, as long as we are patient enough to use it, I'm going to go for the 2-step approach. And seeing as how this video has been very long already and we're only just now leaving Earth and it's dark over here, let me skip forward to the completion of this 3.4 kilometer per second burn. There we are, the first burn is finished, but it finished on the night side, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Here's the map view, our apoapsis is here, where we projected it to be here. That's really close enough. Let's see if we can tweak this node to, well, get our encounter back, really. There we go. There we go, Mars encounter. Wonderful. Genius, 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 genius. That's now 1200 meters per second. That's because things that looked to be efficient before weren't really in reality, and these sort of inefficiencies are what you get when you do a 20-minute burn in an orbit. You are traveling in a circle, and therefore not all of the thrust is going in the right direction. Nothing to be done about that. It's one of the nasty side effects of using nuclear thrust. The thrust is low, so the burns are long, so the inefficiencies mount. It's more than made up for by the massive amounts of delta V such propulsion offers you. Well, to not mess around in the dark any longer than we have to, we are neat, decent, and proper kids. No messing around in the dark where we don't have to. Let's fast forward to the correction burn and see if we can make an encounter happen. I think we will. Right, and here we are at the burn point, and smart viewers, what is different? Yes, the solar panels have retracted. They have, because of a catastrophic overheat. I do like those ship design engineers. Like, yes, we have a spaceship. It has 2 fission reactors and 2 fusion reactors. What do we do in case of overheat? Well, we retract the solar panels, of course. Well, apparently it worked. Oh, and also they scrammed this reactor. Fortunately, I think we could just turn that on again. Yeah, look at that. Power. So, we have 1200 meters per second to go. It's a 7-minute burn. Off we go. Let's lock in the attitude with our trusty SAS system and just wait until those 7 minutes are over. See you then. And those 7 minutes passed in nothing but a blink of an eye. There we go, 50 meters per second to go. Let's quickly go to the map view and see this thing evolve right as we go along. That is just lessening beautifully. There's 700,000 throttling back. Ooh, Duna Periapsis is also decreasing. Hey, we might have a good encounter in our hands here. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. This is looking splendid. Well, almost. Almost splendid then. Let's try to make this proper, focusing on Duna. And I'll show you this because I think it's a neat trick. So, this is where we will encounter our planet. Here we have the maneuver node. Let's see about changing that. That doesn't seem to do so much anymore. So we are going to instead look at the other directions at our disposal. Where is our Periapsis actually? Is that the marker all the way over here? Oh, heebie-jeebie. I think we're gonna need this one. Is this putting it closer to the planet? Yes, it is. 24. What about the prograde marker now then? Ooh, look at that. That's some sexy maneuverings there. Here we go. We do want a somewhat equatorial thing. I am loath to say we do want that. So how do we change that inclination? Not like this, we don't. We also don't really use the prograde mover that much. I can't believe this was more than 100 meters per second, so we're going to bring it back ever so slightly. Why did I lose it? Come on. Get back in here. Oh, it's all the way over there. I was just zoomed in too much. Right. Well, if we end up in a polar orbit, that's actually fine too. That will give us all the choice in the world of landing spots. We don't really care about prograde or retrograde because we're going in for a one-shot landing. We don't need to meet up with anything or something, anything fancy like that. So that's 88.5 meters per second in that direction, whichever way that might be. So let's see about wrenching this ship around. Do we have the monopropellant to be joyous with it? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Let's wrench this ship around then, and let's consider if we actually need to conserve our fusion fuels. I think we do. I think we do. We're not running out super rapidly, but it will be about a year before we get to fire it up again, and there is absolutely no penalty in shutting down the fusion reactor. It's literally just a click. So let's perform this burn just on the instruments here. I don't want to look at the map view while doing it. There's no reason for that, but I just decided that that is not something I like to do. So 25 more, 15 more. Let's gently ease her into it. 1/4 thrust. Lots of efficiencies going on here. 1 meter per second remaining. There we go. Boom. What's our encounter looking like now? Oh, look at that. It wasn't as good. Hey, we can RCS our way closer. We're actually going back. So I overshot ever so slightly. Will we RCS this? I think we will just RCS this the rest of the way. We have it, so let's use it. Let's do so with time acceleration though, otherwise it will take a while. That's 29,000 kilometers. Here we go, and after this we can jump cut right to this periapsis, so that will be nice. Actually, 15,000 kilometers isn't so bad. It will give us a lot of time to do our braking burn. And this will make us almost polar. I like the idea of going polar. That will give us more choice in landing spots. Right, let's do that. Let's do this, and I will fast forward to this periapsis. It's 250 days, so let's just to be sure deactivate this reactor. And is our fusion drive here? That's not even activated, so that's good. This thing has all the uranium in the world, so that will not be a problem. And I will see you once we are at this periapsis. 1, 2, 3. There we are, almost. And it looks like Mars is a happily colonized world, but, well, nothing could be farther from the truth. These are all dead, derelict relics, with the faint, echoing screams of the occupying Kerbals still residing somewhere within. So let's, just for the sake of completion, set up a maneuver node here that we can use to, well, gauge the duration of the burn that we shall be requiring. Something like this. That's 3.7 kilometers per second. Will be 21 minutes again. So we shall just leave. Hey, look at that. There's Mars. Hello, Mars. Say hi to Mars, kids. There it is. Right. Oh! Well, what happened there? The LT-2 landing strut crashed into Tutun Jeb-an. What in the name of all that is holy is that? Did we lose our landing struts here? I think we did. Did we lose anything else? I don't think we did. What? Let me investigate. I have absolutely no idea what happened there. The landing strut crashed into Tutun Jeb-an. It seems like a kraken of some kind, an Egyptian angry rocketry spirit of Jebediah. I was apparently not just foreshadowing when I spoke of haunted relics and places. It means that we will be landing on Mars without the benefit of landing struts, because they have apparently been eaten by a ghost. Wow, never thought I'd say that in a space program. No matter. No matter. We are still aligning our ship for a retrograde burn. We shall leave the solar panels retracted because for some reason, well, they got really hot again, even though the reactors were all offline. So let's activate this and point the ship to the retrograde marker really, and just start burning in about 10 minutes. It'll be a 20-minute burn again, so I'll show you and tell you when that is completed. For now, just sit back and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, there it is. A periapsis. Oh, look at that. 495 kilometers. That is low. From there we will, well, break some more. But something that happened during the 20-minute burn on this side, we apparently ran into some more ghosts. This time it was a little bit more serious. The whole ship disintegrated, and it said, well, you can see I did a quick load to get around the ghosts. So the Tutang Jebediah is gone, but said something equally strange. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, except that the orbit of Mars is apparently now haunted. So we might need to research some ghost bustin' parts. Terrible joke. Anyway, let us head over to... Ooh, stop. Periapps is here. And look at that. This will give us, well, a nice opportunity to land in one of these craters if all goes well. First things first, of course, is to actually brake. Now, we have to be somewhat mindful of our fuel. I already shunted the liquid fuel from here to this orange tank. We have 780 of liquid fuel and 456 of oxidizer. As you recall, the liquid fuel gives more efficiency, but the oxidizer, if we burn that with it, gives it more thrust. And we do need to use the oxidizer, because the efficiency of the mix is lower, but I don't think it's more efficient to just burn the liquid fuel and leave the oxidizer. I mean, that would be really strange if it were true. So, we are going to definitely use it, but I want to use that last. Like, when we're ready to descend, I want to give it a big kick, full of oxidizer, and then switch to the actual lander, because when we are starting to descend, that is the moment that well, we could get in trouble. I mean, if we don't slow down quick enough, we'll just plow into the atmosphere while still going really fast, and that's not something we want. We want to slow down, do most of our deceleration outside of the atmosphere, because remember, no heat shields, and then hit air and descend through it. Because of course this lander might very well not be completely aerodynamically stable. I mean, it will be powered, so we'll have some control authority. But if this starts flipping over and being all weird, then we're in big trouble. Of course we do have parachutes. They are set to open at 5 kilometers. So it really is, let's set this one, yeah, this one should open a little bit later, that's fine. It really is imperative that we find a spot that actually has terrain that's lower than that. And so far, in the previous episodes, if you haven't seen them, we have encountered terrain that was fairly highly elevated. I mean, the poles here are apparently, they have ground level at about 20 kilometers of altitude. And around the equator here, somewhere where the pocket reactor is orbiting, another piece of derelict debris, that has elevations, and we've seen that anywhere between 12 and 25 kilometers. So this time I think we ought to be aiming for like a flat area like this. This appears to be something like a large flat anyway, or something visible like a crater like this. Well, we have a fairly strongly inclined orbit. That should help us, because we will be able to scroll most of the planet under our ship and then pick a spot to land on, basically. So that is working in our favor, very much so, in fact. First things first, though, I'm going to try to establish a 400. Wow, this is a low moon. It's 6,000 kilometers only. Anyway, first things first. Ooh, we are. Ooh, if only our orbit was in the other direction, we'd almost completely hit the inclination for a Phobos visit, but well, with all the hauntings going on, we will not attempt that. And first thing I'm going to try is to make a stable 500 kilometer ish orbit, and then elect, then pick out a landing spot and try to set down. Now, to somewhat expedite this, let's attempt some time warping. We need, of course, to be mindful of our oxidizer. Now, the ratio is like 10 to 9 or 11 to 10, but for our purposes, if we like save 450 fuel and 450 oxidizer, that should be close enough. Remember, in theory, this thing has the delta V to get back into orbit and even back to Earth, but if we get it on the surface just like that, that's already a massive victory. If it can then get into orbit, even better. And well, if it gets to Earth, then we're home free, we did the full Monty, but we can also send rescue missions for that if we need to. So for now we are shooting for, ooh, look at that. We are shooting for a stable orbit at this point. We're almost there, so let's fire that up a little bit more. I think the atmosphere here begins at like 300 kilometers, so we can't decrease this too much. but here we have like 440 by 520. That's, well, perfectly fine. We do of course want to land on the day side, so we shall time warp until we are on the other side of the planet, and then we shall elect. Yeah, this looks like a big flat. I'm going to be honest, throw in a quick save right here, because it's the 70th episode. We need to make a landing happen sometime in this universe before everyone dies of heat death. So if we again hit like a horrible patch of land, we will try again. Yeah, we can try this spot. So we are in orbit, 430 kilometers up, and we're going at 3.3 kilometers per second. Now we have the delta V. I will endlessly remind you of that. So I'm just going to point straight retrograde and kill that speed. I mean, that's the plan at any rate. If we horribly, just a stray thought, should we fail today at finding a landing spot, like just completely, utterly, horribly fail, we might have to invest in a mod package that has some height mapping satellites. And they have been around since forever, but I've never had an in-game reason to use them. I mean, in the stock game, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any reason anywhere to worry about altitude. One exception is if you want to make a return mission to Eve, you kind of have to want to sort of launch from a high mountain. It's basically the opposite of the problem we have here. But in the real solar system, and this is actually a problem that NASA struggles with, well, they don't really struggle with it, they kind of solved it by, you know, height mapping the planet. We need to land in a low spot, because otherwise we don't have the air to help us slow down. Of course, NASA doesn't have the convenient benefit of high-Q tokamak fusion reactors for space-rated ships. In that way we do have it a little bit easier. Now we're going to switch to the liquid fuel and oxidizer propellant, because that will slow us down more quickly, which is something we want from here. So now the oxidizer is running out, and this will give us, well, this is decelerating us at about a G, 1.2. That's wonderful. Also, that is, I think, those are Earth Gs. So when this runs out, we will, well, exhaust the tokamak with the liquid fuel only option, at least as far as it will go. If it can, what I'm trying to say is, if this can counter the pull of gravity, then we'll ride it down as far as it'll go. Otherwise, we might have to ditch it in favor of some more powerful engines. So far, I'm feeling good about this whole powered descent. Efficiency, we don't care about that. We have fusion power. We can just set down on our rockets. Of course, I have been feeling confident in literally all the missions that predated this one. Our landing struts have already been eaten by ghosts, so maybe that is a little bit of a bleak premonition. But we'll be coming down on parachutes, and if there's any fuel left in these things, then, well, we should be able to land on them, really. We should be able to do that softly. Anyway, we have 2.5 kilometers per second to go of surface speed. If we can get rid of this, at least we will be falling straight down, which, well, isn't usually a good idea. But we're at only 400 kilometers, and, well, I think straight down is only like a kilometer per second. That we can calculate this. Mars's gravity acceleration is about a third of a G, so let's call that a 3.3 meters per second squared. Now, 400,000 meters. That's about 100,000 times 3, roughly. Not exactly, I know that. It's 100,000 times 3. I can't do integrals in my head, I just discovered that. So, if we get up to a kilometer per second, that's 1,000 meters per second, that's 400. I think a kilometer per second is sort of a good guess, but the math is lacking. In my head it makes sense, I can't put it into words, and that's not often a good sign. Anyway, this interplanetary stage is performing like a boss. It's almost through its fuel. It did the 3.7 kilometers per second escape burn from Earth. It did the 1.2 kilometers per second correction burn. It did this 3 point something insertion burn here. Then the, I don't know how much, probably a couple more kilometers per second orbit finalization burn here. And now it's being a boss and doing, as of this point, 2 kilometers per second more, and it's going to keep on trucking before it finally dies. Look at that, this will be our landing spot. It does frighteningly look like a mountain, but then again we have rockets, so maybe we don't care. Maybe we do. Also, as long as we're going straight down and not going too quickly, it might not in fact be a problem that our thing is not very aerodynamic. Hell, it's being headed by a nuclear reactor, so yeah. Speaking of nuclear reactors, let's fire up this Omega reactor. Boom. Is that now on? Laser consumption 7 megawatts. Oh yeah, that's a fun little thing. This generator makes 2.34 megawatts and has some storage. This laser takes 7. Now with this one on board, we can just keep this powered. But as soon as we separate, we won't have the power to continuously fire the fusion reactor lasers to do the thermal rocket. So that means we are going to pulse this reactor. That shouldn't be a problem as long as we are in space. Then we have the luxury of time to do such pulses. During ascent, I hope to get into space on these liquid engines. If that doesn't work, then we need a rescue mission. I should not forget before ascent to repackage the parachutes, because then if the ascent fails, we have at least a small shot at landing once again. Right, so we are now going at 700 meters per second. The oxidizer has run out, so we can switch this engine back to liquid fuel propellant usage and fire it up again. If we can just maintain this speed, we can even decelerate. That is wonderful. Apologies for that awful racket. We can just sedately burn this down. Oh shit, what did I just do? I just did a quick save. That means we can't alter this landing spot. So if it's too high for the parachutes, that's too bad. We just committed to a full propulsive landing. I hope it's going to work out. I hope it is going to work out. We can leave these radiator fins, or we can leave the solar panels because we don't really need them. The radiator fins I might want to retract, because if we are going to ride this all the way down, we need to keep it cool, otherwise it will shut down and then we won't have a rocket anymore. We can ride it a fairly goodly amount. We can ride it down fairly far. I mean, 600 meters per second is a little bit too fast to go. For now it isn't though, because we're still even above the atmosphere. Once close to the ground, I ideally want something like not more than 200 meters per second. And I think these engines should be able to take us from 500 to 200 quite quickly. I don't recall the engineer numbers, but they were pretty high in the thrust to weight ratio department. We're now at 45-degree angle. That means our horizontal speed is now approximately 270 meters per second. That's actually still not that high. So I'm going to turn this back to the horizon to just get rid of the last of the horizontal velocity. I want to be plummeting straight down, because I have a feeling that once we hit atmosphere, this lander thing is not going to be maneuverable at all. We're accelerating here now at about a third of a G. That's about 1 Martian G. Is that an M? A G? No, the G is just a physics constant now. It doesn't vary based on the planet, but we're gonna call it an M. No, we're not. So I'm feeling a bit sorry about this reactor, going to throw it away. But you know, that's life as a reactor. Once you have fulfilled your purpose, you will be thrown away. See, once we're burning this direction, we're actually accelerating again, because we are now not counteracting gravity anymore. I'm going to start pointing up a little bit more. Our vertical speed is now, let's just see, it's like 700 to 800 meters per second. So let's see, it's like 600. It's almost completely vertical. Let's see about reducing the throttle from this baby. I am still not convinced that this is actually a smart way to land. But then again, we do have fuel remaining in this. What happens if we throttle up? We will decelerate ever so slowly. I'm just going to do that. I mean, we're going to ride down this rocket. It will keep us at a relatively safe 600 meters per second. After that, I might reduce that to like 500, and then I'm curious if I want to do pulses, or I want to do pulses until I get like close to the ground-ish. It doesn't help that I'm not at all so very confident about propulsive straight down landings. At least one thing I'm confident about is that 600 meters per second is way too slow to cause any problems with heating, so we should be fine in that regard. And this engine is just gently putting out, exactly countering gravity, lowering us down at 600 meters per second. It will continue to do so for about, let's call that 2 more minutes. It's about 2 seconds for a full unit. So yeah, about 2 more minutes. That is like 70 kilometers-ish. 2 minutes? No, wait. That's 6 kilometers per 10 seconds times 120. Wait, 6 kilometers per 10 seconds times 12. That's about, let's call that 80 kilometers and be done with it. So we will be at about 200 kilometers. That's still fairly high up. That's still fairly high up. I wonder if this is actually a good idea. Will we just burn the entire supply of fuel we have and then crash into the atmosphere and die? Or the ground? Or will it in fact be enough? We shall find out. We shall find out. This monopropellant hasn't really done anything. Let's fire up that as well. Just until the reactor runs out. Look, we're still not in the atmosphere, so any subsequent runs, if they prove to be necessary, we can make our orbit finalization at like 300, not 400 to 500. Anyway, is this about to run out? Yes, it is. Oh, I do wonder. How high is the ground here? If only I could tell, that would be so useful. So useful. Right, well this monopropellant has been a ginormous, gigantic waste, and I sort of wish we had landing struts, but the ghosts ate them. That's a pity. Right, alright, run out then. Right, so we're accelerating fairly frighteningly fast now, so let's at least get rid of this. Is this the right decoupler? We don't want any of that embarrassment. It is. So we are now ditching at Mars. On our prospective landing site, 1 fusion reactor and 1 fission reactor. Hello. Oh. Let's see how fast can we accelerate with that. That's actually pretty quickly, so there is no rush at all to perform with that. No. Tempted to do a quick save, because if I hit the parachutes I can't really quick save anymore, because then it won't work. What the hell, are you already committed to the landing spot anyway? Quick save it is. At least if everything goes horribly wrong, we will know the altitude of the ground. Oh, we might know the altitude of the ground anyway if we pay attention to this when this dies. That's nice. It's now 4 kilometers away from us. That's at this speed. It's like 7 seconds. That's not quick. We're not accelerating at 10 G. So if we hit the ground here, we are in trouble. But it is a starting point. It is something to go on. I'm going to enable the SAS, by the way, to keep the craft pointed upright. That's 7 kilometers away now. At 800 meters per second. That's like still 7 to 8 seconds away. That makes sense because as long as we're not thrusting, this is accelerating at the same rate we are. 130 kilometers now, coming up to 900 meters per second of horizontal velocity. At some point, I think at around 50 kilometers, that's also when we can start to hit some atmosphere. I will reduce the speed to 500 meters per second. And I have set this up for asparagus staging, but that is sort of intended for the lifting off portion of this journey, because I kind of want to land on a quad pod here, not on a single axis horrible lander. So 99 kilometers, we're lower than 100. And we're traveling at a kilometer per second now. We're coming down over some ghost boundary. This is the ghost town. We need to invest about 500 meters per second. This is accelerating away from us. It's now at about 15 seconds from us, which still isn't enough time to slow down if it were to hit the ground now. But I think just visually, I'm confident that it's not going to be 50 kilometer land. That's not happening. So this is at 15 now. We're at 1200 meters per second. That is slowly getting scary fast. So I'm going to reduce that to 600 now. There we are burning, and we should see the thermal power diminishing. And that will cause us to no longer be able to fire our fusion engine. Right, let's get that out now. Oh, that's 20 kilometers. 20 kilometers from here, that's 14 kilometers on the clock. We need to keep burning. Ooh, that's 14 is my quick head math. That's 15 from now. That's the asparagus 1. We're at 250 meters per second, and if that is actually at, I mean, let's pop the chutes. At 14, these chutes will be useless. That is a pity. That is a pity. I mean, let's fire that up. Let's reduce that to 100 meters per second, if we can. I mean, this fuel is running out as well, and we don't want to come down on just the nuclear drive. That would be a big pain. That's 100 meters per second now. I think we should be fine. This was at 6. Let's try the internal. Wait. 50 meters per second, that's good. Wait, was there a parachute deployment? Does that still count as altitude over the ground? That would be good. Hey, at least something is happening. We're now at just 100 meters per second and approaching the ground. What was that? Was that fusion stuff that was failing, or oh, something is going? Those are not parachutes. Those are failing fusion coolings. That's really scary. Maybe we should shut that down. I'm not sure if anything will happen if we do shut that down. If we don't shut it down, I mean. Right, so that's now 18 meters per second. That's really slow. I don't know how it happened that this got so low. Apparently it just takes a lot of delta V to come straight down and fight it all the way. But it does look as though something might work out. Right, so that's 12, that's 15. That's still too much, and these sparks are messing with my head. Oh look, there's the ground. Wow, and we're not going at a kilometer per second. That is new. Oh shit, are we actually going to touch down? Oh shit. No parachutes, remember? This is a completely powered landing on our last bits of oxidizer, really. 10 meters per second. Going to play with the throttle now. 3 sounds good. Are we actually going up? That's not good. 10 is not good. 6 is alright. Okay, here we are. We have some... No, 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 you don't. Oh! He lives. He lives. That was the sloppiest landing ever. But he lives. Guys, he lives. Ludrin Kerman lives. Sort of. He lives. He lives. Oh god. This still counts as upper atmosphere, right? We landed in the upper atmosphere. Wonderful. Okay, that sucked. I think my recording got cut off, but Ludrin Kerman landed on the surface of the planet, crawled out of his capsule, and that immediately crashed the game. And this isn't the latest quick save we had either. That's horrible. Damn it. So yeah, sort of he made it onto the surface, but then the game crashed. So there's nothing to it than to do it again. On the one hand, it's good because now we get a second chance. On the other hand, we already know that the ground is high here. It's like 14 or 12-ish kilometers, so no parachutes. With that altitude in mind, though, we can do a little bit more. We can have a little bit more control in selecting our deceleration altitude, though. That's good. So we should be left with a little bit more. Should be left with a little bit more fuel, but just because you know this might happen again, I will cut out some of the sequences because that was a fairly long descent. So now planning to fire this liquid engine at 300 kilometers, and I'll fast forward there. So see you then. Oh, turns out I didn't really have to cut the video because the regular time warp is still a thing here. So we're now going at 1100 meters per second. That should slow us down. That should get us down a good bit faster, about twice as fast actually. So I think we will have a little bit more efficiency. Well, not efficiency because we're still just fighting gravity the whole way, but well, we intended to accelerate to this speed anyway, sort of, maybe. Right, well, let's lock it in there and increase the physical time warp. This shouldn't take too long. It's 200 seconds at 1 kilometer per second, and at times 4, that's just like, I don't know, 50 seconds, like a minute. Should be over almost already. We are, of course, at a little increased risk of air being a problem at this higher speed. Also, we will be landing in a slightly different spot, so we can't treat the 12 kilometers as set in stone, although it is probably stone that it is. Full stop. Right, 90 kilometers. We need to start working on our deceleration plan. As long as we can keep 1100 meters per second using this drive, then we don't really need to get out of it before we're at like 40 kilometers. I think that should work. It's a little bit of a gutsy move. That will give us about 20 seconds to decelerate. That's how much G's do we need for that? That is about 5. I think we can manage that, especially because we will of course start slowing down immediately, and that will cause us to, well, have more time. We don't have the time, however, to wait this out, so let's cut this engine, fire that, and full burn. No generators available. We have a generator. Come on, don't be a fuss. Right, here we go, decelerating 800 meters per second, coming down. This is going a hell of a lot faster than last time, because we have the benefit of hindsight. Okay, parachutes deployed. Doesn't matter, but we still deploy them. Right, this is looking like a great suicide burn, you guys. 500 meters per second at 18 kilometers. That's just a few seconds until 12 kilometers, where we will crash or land. 300 meters per second now, and just... wow, this is actually wonderful. It turns out I can do integrals in my head. Right, so that's 2 of the engines burned out. 80 meters per second. Coming up onto the surface. 40, 30, 20, 10. Right, stop it. And turns out we don't have any control whatsoever with the engines offline. Actually, I'm bragging a lot, but we don't have that much more fuel left over, but we do have a shadow to work with, and that's really nice. I don't have any RCS on this either, do I? Right, let's try and set this thing down without completely crashing it. Sound like a plan? I think it does. We do have the fuel to play throttle games now. This is constant speed, 6 meters per second, and this is not a retry. This is a forced reappraisal of the situation because the game crashed. Excuse me, the communications link gave out, and Ludrin, well, he never did report what his state was. So here we are. I do think I forgot to put antenna on this thing, so whatever happens, Ludrin is not going to radio it home. Right, 2 meters per second now. Let's throttle back a little bit more. I think we're gonna stick it. I mean, come on, settle on those engines. Ladies and gentlemen, Ludrin has landed. Let's get those reports in. Keep that data. Let's get that quick save in. Autosave all the saves. And let's now also, I mean, is the waste heat a problem? Not quite yet. Let's also hope we don't crash upon exiting the vehicle this time. I mean, that would be a little bit of a pain. Okay, we have the crew report. We need the EVA report from, of course, the upper atmosphere. Right on, keep the data there. And now we need the report from the ground. And we'll throw a quick save this way now, because if... oh, right, let's immediately break the ship. Well done, Ludrin. Now we don't have solar panels. Great. Well done. Really stellar work. Okay, Ludrin is the hero. He even sorta saved his ship. That's amazing. Ludrinites. No words. Made it. It's really good. EVA report from here. 64 signs. That's disappointing. Let's take a sample though. 240. That's so disappointing. I wanted thousands. And this is also a big problem. See, on Duna, the jetpack is strong enough. Not so on Mars. Oh god. I figured that Duna had Mars's gravity acceleration. I never checked that. And apparently that was in error. Oh, look at that. Apparently it does work. Sort of. If you just sustain the momentum of a jump. Oh shit. Let's try that. Okay. Get it. Wow. Look at that. Did you see that? So the jetpacks just about completely neatly cancel out that gravity. So if you jump, you can keep going. Wow. That is some seat of the pants stuff. No comms devices. Of course, I'm a genius. Right, well, let's go big or go home, right? Let's see if we can make it back into space with this thing. Oh god. Let's see if we can make it back into space with this thing. Apparently that's a 270-degree heading. I didn't know Mars orbited retrograde. Are we sitting in a weird place? No. Is this our retrograde marker? I think it is. Right. Getting back into space, and that's the final thing of this episode. That does mean, though, that we're not going to play quick save games. If he crashes now, he dies. Right. Well, there we go then. At least we're launching from a mountain, so we're up high already. Boom. Firing it up. Ditching those first two. Now, it's just this. We need to get high enough so that the fusion drive can take over in its pulsed Stay. We are going at 600 meters per second, which is... Let's just shut down this engine so that thermal power can build. What? It's not building? Why is that not building? Activate the reactor. Oh, the reactor was never on. That's nice. We sort of need it to be on, you guys. Okay then, let's ditch this. And... oh, this is not looking good. We have 14.8 kilonewtons. Do we have any oxidizer on board for an LFO burst? We do not. Right. Guys, I think Ludrin just died. It sounded good on paper, this design, but maybe not so much in reality. Our apoapsis is rising though. The thermal power, is that doing well at all? No. No, no. The thrust is all gone. We need to activate this reactor, damn it. Thermal power, alright. Come on. Fire. Oh, that doesn't work nearly as well as I thought it would. Oh shit. Oh shit. That's a pretty critical design flaw. I tested that somewhere. Oh no, what happens? We need this reactor to power the lasers for this one. Then it gets the thermal power going, but it doesn't load this megajoules thing up. Well, it does, but it takes a while. Oh shit. And obviously we don't have the time for that. Well, do we not actually? Maybe we do. I mean, if we just let this charge up. Of course I should have charged that up on the ground. We'll just let that charge up. I mean, let's do some time warp to let that charge up. Then we should... I mean, is this now just ticking over? No. Activate the reactor. No, if we activate the reactor, and there's no generator on this reactor, Jesus. This is a piece of shit plan. But at least there's a flag on the surface now, put there by a man. Taking off from Mars, well, you know... It's kind of an optional extra, let's call it that. We need 3 kilometers per second and we need it now. So let's see if we can activate the reactor and leave it on for a while. See, because that's not actually taking too... it's not draining too fast actually. Except the thermal power here is just going nuts. And is that now going to drain faster? It is now going to drain faster, but we also have thrust. And we are actually accelerating, we're still going up. And we're not going to run out of fuel anytime soon, so perhaps we're still okay. Perhaps we're still okay. It is going to be one hell of a long haul though this way. And this charging cycle just takes so long, it takes forever. And the discharging cycle is a lot slower though. Maybe if we deploy the radiators, that will be a little bit better. The megajoules are still decreasing. Our reactor is still on. Our altitude is also still increasing. Perhaps it will help if we deploy some solar panels additionally. You know, we're working with fusion reactors, but you know, just a little bit extra from the solar panels. Right, and that's our reactor offline again. And we need to charge the megajoules. And we're going to do so until we actually get 0 speed on the vertical readout. I mean, we're not giving up yet. This rose, this Martian rose, still deserves to fly. I mean, we're not going to run out of fuel. I mean, who are we kidding? We're just not. We will point in this direction, going mostly up and a little bit sideways. And and we are burning at a higher thrust to weight ratio than the Martian gravity is pulling us down with. So let's activate that reactor again, fire up the engine, let's start heading up. Oh god. Right, this is going to take forever, and I'm not sure we will in fact be able to arrest the descent. I'm going to fight Mars using this, and I will check back with you once we have a conclusive result on that. For now though, we have to shut down the engine again. The future is looking a little bit bleak. Yes it is. We're not going fast. We're not going fast at all. We are over the hump. We are over the apoapsis. The megajoules are mounting very, very slowly. 2.5 megawatts. That's god damn it. Why didn't I spring for the larger reactor? Then we could have just gone into orbit. Or why didn't I recharge it whilst on the ground? Damn it. Damn it. Ludrin, he landed safely. He even took some reports, but there were no antennae on his ship. And then he tried to go back into space, but he did make it to space. But that was about it. Damn it. Damn it. Okay, one more burst. Let's see what we can do. Can he live by, I don't know, just being up here? I don't think he can. If you're just burning straight up, it's not even working. It's not even working, and I don't think we'll have changed our position enough to... Well, he's got one chance to live. There is a parachute here. But he will have to go outside to repackage that. So he's going to do that real quick. And if this landing site is low enough, that means he might, and I repeat, might be able to land by just parachute. Apparently that parachute is fine. Or do you need to be landed to repackage a parachute? I hope not. Maybe because it never deployed, it's still actually primed to do so. Right, let's ditch this foolish rocket. Yeah, screw that rocket. Bye. Yeah, we don't need this. I mean, shut it down. We don't want to land with an active nuclear plant on our heads. I mean, we're going to shut that down at least. Manual shutdown. Right. Okay, that's less radiation. And yeah, there's no way to get away from that. But if this happens to be like a hole in the ground, maybe the heat shield will protect him. Maybe the parachute will deploy. Let's crank this up to this. Maybe that parachute will be enough to save this pod. Oh, right. Let's not do that with the time warp one. This has been a horrendously long video, and as long as we don't care about Ludrin, we can even say it was a success. I mean, we've got 0 science points. We didn't use the atmosphere to slow down at all. I mean, that was never the intention. Oh, we didn't find a low spot to land in. But we did set foot on Mars. Live boots, at least. We did do that. And then those boots left again. And then they came back again. I mean, that's as positive as I can put it, really. I mean, we are going now at frighteningly fast. I mean, if this parachute is going to deploy, it will do so within the next minute, and if it does, it will probably tear everything apart here. I mean, we could get some braking, we could get some deceleration from this, but we've seen that before, and we've seen that with parachutes even. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, it doesn't look like the ground is any lower here. So, hey, look at that. That's some debris. Oh, that's the radiator panels. We'll say hi to those. And there's our nuclear pile plowing into the ground just fractions of a second ahead of us. Boom. Well, sorry, Ladrin. You made some nice reports, but in the end they were in vain. Damn it. It all started with the ghost attack on the landing struts, I think. Anyway, that's a relatively successful episode. Check back next time to see what will happen then. I don't know yet. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Lorenzo.